What is going on, guys? This is Miasin. So there is a very interesting card that people are considering playing right now in this format. Well, at least the upcoming format, Phantom Nightmare. Nobody cares about this few days that we have until we get the new set. But yeah, this card is made to order Mermaid Outfit Outfitter. It's a normal spell card, and its effect is basically kind of like a combination of two cards you already know. So the card reads, target one card in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, then you can add one card from your deck to your hand with the same name as the banished card. You can only activate one made to order Mermaid Outfit Outfitter per turn. What the heck is this name? But yeah, basically this is kind of like a combination of Lullaby of Obedience and DD Crow, because you are banishing one card in your opponent's graveyard, and you are searching something from your deck to your hand with the exact same name as that card. So the only difference is that, you know, it's once per turn, you don't pay life points, and you don't declare anything. You just banish whatever is in your opponent's graveyard, and then you get the exact same. Now, usually people would prefer cards like Lullaby of Obedience because Lullaby is playable going first and second. Whereas Made to Order, I'm not actually gonna say the full name, but yeah, this card, there you go, I'm just gonna call it Mermaid now, is only playable going second for the most part because you have to rely on your opponent having cards in the graveyard. Even though you could use this card going first if your opponent hand traps you, you can banish that hand trap in the graveyard and search the same hand trap. So if you get Ashed, you banish your opponent's Ash, and then you search an Ash, or Veiler, or Imperm even. It banishes any card in your opponent's graveyard, and it searches any card with that same name. So yes, it also works with spells and traps. And yeah, same thing with Droll, Ghost Bell, and DD Crow. But not really for Phantasmi and Nibiru. It's not gonna work too well because those cards do not go to the grave, so you have to destroy them first and then banish them with Made to Order. So it's not super ideal, but that's irrelevant because, again, the majority of the time you are using this card going second, not only to break your opponent's board, but also to actually get your stuff going. Alright, so first things first, against the Snake Eyes based strategy, this card can actually get your engine going by banishing your opponent's Ash, and then you can search an Ash yourself. Or the same thing with Populous or with Oak. Or you could banish your opponent's Flamberge permanently, and then search your own Flamberge. Although Flamberge in the hand doesn't really do anything more than Flamberge in the deck. It's not a real, you know, like +1 in your hand. It's kind of gonna act as a worse DD Crow. I'm not a big fan of that. If you want this card to actually be broken, you have to really figure out the broken search banish targets, and then obviously search targets as well. For the most part, against the Snake Eyes, it's going to be an application. It's something that you can do, but you're especially going to be using this card against Fire King cards because they really have to be in the graveyard in order to do something. Otherwise, they are basically useless. For example, if you get to banish your opponent's Garunix, first of all, your opponent loses the one of Garunix permanently, and then you get to search your own Garunix, which is actually quite relevant because even if you didn't have it, well, I mean, even if you don't have, like, Far King Island access, you can still crash your monsters and then summon Garunix and break the board even further. And regardless of what kind of hand your opponent has, this card will always do something because there's always going to be at least one card in your opponent's graveyard. Like, for example, you can even steal, like, non-engine cards with this card, and I want to say this is where this card really shines. Technically, this also does remind me a little bit of Crossout Designator because the more you have... well, the more your deck is diverse with a lot of different cards, the more ground you can cover. So, for example, if your opponent is playing Pot of Prosperity, but you're not, you can banish a Prosperity, but then you're not searching a Prosperity. But if you are playing the card, then you can actually get a lot going, because you can get that, and then Excavate 6, and then either get, like, a Board Breaker, or something that might get like a lot going. So that's, I want to say another good thing about this card is that regardless of the game state, there is always something interesting to do with it. If you happen to use a hand trap on your opponent's turn and then your opponent goes for triple tactic talent to look at your hand, then you can actually get a talent off of your opponent's graveyard. Same thing with Thrust. So these two cards, every single card basically is searchable. So I like that. And obviously, this is a normal spell card that you can actually search yourself with Thrust. So this searches Thrust, and Thrust searches this. How beautiful. But yeah, so again, against the Far Kings, if you can banish a Garunix, it is going to be extremely good. Even if you can banish a Kirin, it's going to be good, even though Kirin in the graveyard is not the same thing as Garunix in the grave. This is actually relevant. Kirin in the grave, not really, but it's more so because you want to search the Kirin yourself, so that if you go normal summon Ash and then effect, and your opponent goes Imperm, then thanks to your searched Kirin, you can actually dodge it. And then with Onyx, it's basically for the most part the same thing. Your opponent's Flamberge will not be able to revive this back, and then you can also get your own Onyx in rotation, surge the Sanctuary into Island. So yeah, you're hurting your opponent and you're helping yourself out. And even against the Wanted package, both of the cards are great to banish. The Abel Star doesn't really do much of anything in the grave, although it can be used with the original Sinful Spell Snake Eye in order to search a Snake Eye monster for next turn, so it's still somewhat relevant. And for the Wanted, I mean, that has a graveyard effect to draw one card. So if you can banish your opponent's Wanted and then search a Wanted of your own, that's pretty good. And even if you get drolled on the resolution of your search, you can chain the Wanted to the droll and still search the Diabel Star, and then you're setting the original Sinful Spell Snake Eye, and you can basically play through a droll when you are doing that. So keep that in mind. It's actually not too bad. Honestly, this card is also pretty good to draw in tandem with hand traps because, again, you're always doing so much. Like, the game state can be super simplified, and you can search whatever you want with this. So a hand trap, an extender, a board breaker, a starter, like literally anything you can ask for. And it can technically be used against other decks, but I don't know if it's going to be that good. And as a matter of fact, even against the Snake Eyes and Farking decks, the best card you really want to banish the majority of the time would be, well, obviously Garunix, but in second place or maybe first place would be Promethean Princess. People keep telling me how you're pronouncing the word should be Promethean. I really don't care. I'm just gonna call it Promethean. So yeah, my bad for everyone who has ear cancer whenever I I pronounce these words. But yeah, you can banish that for sure, no problem, but you're not going to be able to search anything because obviously there is no card in your deck that is named Promethean Princess Bestower of Flames. No shit, so yeah, you can't search an extra deck card, unfortunately. Anyways, against the Labyrinth deck, if you are playing a Labyrinth Mirror match, it might not be too bad. You can banish the furnitures, which obviously they all do something in the grave. I think you can search your own furniture, which is not too bad. Or you can banish your opponent's Big Welcome, and if you didn't have like a Labyrinth monster on the field, it's not like you can chain, and then you're searching your own Big Welcome. That's also pretty good, but obviously you can banish like generic trap cards or hand traps or whatever. You can banish your opponent's Ash or Ghost Bell in the mirror match. That might not be too bad, because again, in the mirror match, everybody's always playing the exact same cards. And again, this is the reason why I keep comparing this card to Lullaby of Obedience and Crossout Designator, because you cannot main deck this card, it's not going to work really well, and it's only good when the cards that you play match the cards that your opponents play, otherwise there's literally nothing to cover. In the Silent Enforcer mirror match, you could banish your opponent's Novox so that there's going to be less recursion if your opponent can ritual summon later down the line, so that's nice because you can also search your own Novox, and that is a one-card combo that makes 2 interruptions, so I will definitely take that. You can also banish your opponent's ritual spell, which is nice because it does have a graveyard effect whenever one of their face-up light ritual monster leaves the field by opponent's card effect, so you banish that and then you search your own ritual spell. But to be fair, this card's not like super great to search, so yeah, if you can banish a Novox, that would be infinitely better. But another really cool one is banishing Pre-Prep to search Pre-Prep, so if you can do that, yeah, you're basically going +1, but you're not really hurting the opponent. So do keep that in mind. Against Runic-based strategies, this card is insane against, again, like a Runic mirror match. In case that happens, you banish your opponent's Runic cards, and then you search your own Runic cards. So their Fountain draws 1 less card, because it's not like they can chain a Runic card and then immediately draw the Fountain. That's going to happen in a separate chain link. So they cannot do anything about that. And I really, again, like the fact that you can search like a tip by banishing their tip. So they're losing like a very precious card, and you're searching an extremely powerful card. Against Bestial-based strategies like Dragon Link or whatever, you banish their Lubellion, you search their Lubellion. If you didn't have any monsters on the field, there is no way they can dodge it by banishing their own Bestial with their own Bestial. So yeah, you can actually play very well going second against the Dragon Link deck, again, in a mirror match. All it takes is for like a tier 0 deck to exist, and then you just start like mimicking cards, and it's going to be like cracked, especially for like these kind of cards, because they're good in the grave, but they're really good to search. So you're doing like a double job basically by banishing that and searching your own Lubellion. Or you can work with Magnamut, obviously. Against Horus-based strategies, you can banish their Imseti, and then they have 1 less monster to summon next turn for the Sarcophagus. And then you're searching your own Imseti so they can search your own Sarcophagus, draw a card, and then you revive back the Imseti, potentially a Happy, do a Mutef, and then make some rank 8 plays or whatever else you want to do. And again, board breakers in general, but usually you're using this card going second, which means that your opponent will not really have board breakers, but he might have Talents and Triple Tactic Thrust or Hand Traps, obviously, so these cards are always able to be searched. So there is always an application for this card, either in the grind game or like the early game. Whatever, this card is pretty much never bad to top deck. You don't have to rely on your opponent doing anything specific for this card either. Now, with that said, I don't know if this card is on the same level as Soul Release, because this card allows you to banish up to 5 cards in any graveyard. So obviously there's a big difference between banishing 1 card and banishing up to 5 cards. but there is also a difference between not searching anything and searching something. Which one's the best? It's very debatable. This card is extremely good. I would put a lot of respect on it. There's no way I could... I mean, there's no way this card doesn't see play in the future, honestly. But yeah, there are also decks against which this card might look good, but it's not. For example, against Despia, it's not going to do anything because it's not a quick play spell card, so there's nothing to banish, like on the Gimmick Puppet, for example, with the Albion. That's going to happen on draw phase or standby, and you're going to lose. So yeah, watch out for that. And against like sorry, not Burning Abyss, but technically Burning Abyss could do that, but Tier Laments, transaction rollback with a Mayakashi Chop or Eradicator Virus. There is nothing again to banish, and you're just gonna die with this card because they can just chain and then copy the effect, and you are dead. So yeah, if this card was a quick play spell card, it would have been completely ridiculously stupid. Literally tier 0 on the spot bannable, but it's a normal spell, which is again a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because of thrust, and it's a bad thing because it lacks the versatility and the speed. You know, at the end of the day, that is respectable, especially considering its effect. So yeah, you guys let me know how you feel about made to order mermaid outfitter. There we go. I did this just to make you happy. And since I did, I would really appreciate you if you could smash the like and subscribe button. I can't make these videos without your support. Thank you so much for everything. And yeah, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.